Hey folks, Marty Nowicki from Impact Snap. Today's video, we're going to talk about the difference in wrist conditions at setup versus impact. What are some things that you can look for, and how does that change from, say, a chip shot, pitch shot into a full swing? So let's start with chip shot, pitch shot. I like to see a weaker grip. What that means is that my ring joints, the three joints, middle, fourth, and pinky finger, those joints are going right under the club and against the club. That way when I grip it, my thumb is really pointing down the center of the shaft. I prefer weaker grips for short game so that I can hit softer shots and control the spin a little bit better. Once I do have my grip, there's a simple way for you to check what your wrist angles are like and then have an awareness of what the club face looks like. So if I just grip my pitching wedge, took my standard grip, which is, kind of a neutral grip, I want to make sure that both the wrist conditions are flat and flat here. It's just how I prefer to play. But more importantly is it's giving me an opportunity to actually look at the club face and see what it looks like relative to vertical. Is it open slightly or closed slightly? So having the awareness of both how your hands are on the golf club and how the hands and wrists and forearms help you to control the angle of that club face, that's going to be really important for you to, as a first step, start the same way each time. So even with a driver, I'll put my hands on the golf club, I'll stretch my arms out, I'll flatten that wrist condition out. Now I can see what the club face looks like relative to vertical. Add my slight tilt. Slight little draw. All right. So for most chip shots, pitch shots, I'm going to set both this top angle at 0 degrees, and then I'm going to set the back of the lead wrist at 0 degrees. Okay, so I'm presetting my impact conditions. You'll see players like Bryson DeChambeau, they preset those conditions with every swing in their bag. Whereas on a full swing, you'll see that the wrist condition actually changes from a slightly cupped position to a slightly flexed position. Note that the wrist conditions are really subject to what kind of grip do you have. For a fuller swing, if I take those same rings and instead of having them under the club, I move them more to the side of the club, then grip it, that would be a stronger grip, or what I call slightly stronger than neutral. The thumb is just down the side of the shaft a little bit more. Looking at this notch, if that's at 12 o'clock, I want to see the thumb closer to 1 o'clock. And I'll now focus only on this top angle of the wrist. So if there's a little bit of bend at the back side of the wrist, that's certainly tolerable because of how I'm gripping the golf club. Note that if that's address, impact, that wrist bone is actually going to move further forward. So it might go from a slightly extended position or cupped position into a slightly flexed position, or what we'd call a bowed position. So I think the key takeaways, first identify what kind of grip that you are employing. If you're near the greens, I would encourage a weaker grip where the ring joints go more under the club. That puts the thumb right on top. And then pay attention to these wrist angles at start, noting that for most shots around the green, there's not going to be any deviation. If I were to take the impact snap, rings will go at the bottom corner. That puts my thumb right along the top. I'll place my trail hand on it. Just make sure when you are gripping it that your hand is completely on the unit. I don't want to see people with their hand down all the way on the bar. So make sure those rings and the heel pad of the left hand are on the unit. That puts my thumb right in line with the lettering. I'll attach the trail arm. For short game shots, I'll simply preset the ball on my forearm. You can see how that flattens out the wrists. And there's my standard chip and pitch. For a fuller swing, the ball will not start near my trail arm, so there'll be some space there. But note that if this is set up, impact, the ball will actually hit the inside trail portion of the forearm. The yellow ball will hit the inside of the trail forearm. Why that's so important? That does a couple things. Number one, that de-lofts the golf club. So when I de-loft the golf club, that A, allows me to hit the center of the face more readily. B, it's going to add to my distance, carry distance. And then C, even if I were to de-loft it with a driver, I can change ball position and a tilt so that I can have a good stable impact position and swing up on something. Just because you're de-lofting it doesn't mean per se that you're swinging down. I can still swing up with a driver. Let's show you that now. As I transition to a driver, again, ball position is going to change. This tilt is going to change. That way I can have my lowercase letter y geometry, which is only going to stabilize the club. And with a driver, just note, because the ball's on a tee, we're now swinging up into something, not down into something. So impact with a wedge, my hands are going to be past the ball by quite a bit. That's going to allow the club to swing downward into the golf ball, and ideally we're always catching the ball from the inside. If you have access to a launch monitor and you have access to the actual launch angle, I would want most of your wedges to launch under 30 degrees. 25 to 27 is optimal. If they're considerably higher than that in your launch, then really pay attention to those impact conditions. For Impact Snap, I'm Marty Nowicki. Please hit the subscribe button down below. Click the bell notification. That way when we put out more content, you get notified. Please leave your comments down below because that helps us to create more content for you. Like this video, our ratings go up, and more golfers like you will be exposed to our content. For Impact Snap, thanks for watching.